The Central London Railway opened its new twopenny tube in 1900, and Bond Street was one of the stations along its route. There's no such street as Bond Street, and the station was planned to be called Davis Street, since that's where the station was located. But the name Bond Street stuck, and as the years went by, the Central Line was joined by the Jubilee Line, and most recently the Elizabeth Line. Though this is going to be a Central Line walk, I'm actually starting on the Elizabeth Line platforms so I can get an exit onto Davis Street and into the wonderful hinterland of Mayfair, because I'm not going to take a walk along Oxford Street. I'm not sure I'm in the mood. Although this is supposed to be a Central Line walk, I just want to report in that that is a very big station. We've exited on Davis Street, and I'm just about to walk down to Claridges, and then we'll begin our tour. Mayfair is known apparently for its thriving foodie scene with top dining cakes including the Ivy Asias. Oh, we missed it. Since we're avoiding Oxford Street, we're going to skirt the north of Mayfair, but it's not a very long walk from Bond Street Station to Marble Arch Station. So we'll just do Davis Street here, and then along Brook Street, Grosvenor Square, Upper Brook Street, back onto Park Lane and up to Marble Arch. So ahead on the corner of Brook Street and Davis Street is Claridges. Now this was founded in 1812 as a small hotel in a conventional London terrace house, and it grew by expanding into neighbouring houses. In 1854 the owner sold the hotel to a Mr. and Mrs. Claridge. They owned a smaller hotel just next door, and like the Grosvenor family later on in this walk, the Claridge family name became extremely well known because of this hotel. The theatrical impresario Richard D'Oyly Carte actually also owned the Savoy Hotel, and he purchased Claridge's in 1894, and shortly after that demolished the old buildings and replaced them with the present one. The reason Claridge's began to truly flourish was because after the First World War, aristocrats started to no longer maintain a separate London house and moved into the hotel. Now, there was a TV programme a few years back about how a company in Northern Ireland was commissioned to add a new top floor, which would blend into the current building style of the hotel. And the scheme has been amazingly successful. If you look right at the top here, you can see the new floor, that sort of stucco look right at the top, and it completely blends in. You'd never know it was new. Anyhow, down Brook Street here we will reach Grosvenor Square, where the American Embassy used to be, and lots of 1960s protests went on. So here's one for the Americans out there. John Adams lived in this very house on the corner of Duke Street and Grosvenor Square and Brook Street. That's the Marriott Hotel if you want to stay close to your ex-president. And if you get bored with
bit of breakfast and food, you can come to Gordon Ramsay's on Grosvenor Square, just around the corner.
I've told many tales about the Grosvenor family, the jammiest and luckiest family in London. An ancestor made a fortuitous marriage and came into the land ownership of the future Belgravia and Mayfair, and the family made a complete fortune. Sir Richard Grosvenor obtained a licence to develop Grosvenor Square and the surrounding streets in 1710, and development took place between 1725 and 1731. Grosvenor Square was one of the most fashionable residential addresses in London from its construction onwards, and many aristocrats and then embassies moved in.
That's the former American embassy. The building work is labelled the Chancery Rosewood, so I assume that's going to be a very posh hotel or something. But the American Eagle is on the top. The whole shebang is moved down to Nine Elms now. This is not such an inspiring building, but actually has echoes with this. In the design of the Vauxhall Nine Elms building, it does look somewhat like it, so I think they kept the style just for a bit of a laugh. In Grosvenor Square there was a focus of a big 1968 riot. I think it was Carrick Alley, and 1968 was a bit of a year, but it all happened there in front of the American Embassy.
So it looks like Qatari money is funding this development.
So at the top of the road there is Park Lane, and it's a hop, skip and a jump from Marble Arch. Okay, that's interesting. This is a blue plaque to the Greek ambassador. I suppose he would live in the Greek embassy. Yeah, there's the Greek embassy.
That was Park Street, and we'll continue our rather elegant walk towards Park Lane. It's a much better route than Oxford Street would have been, but I think it's time for a look at the area again with some older maps. This is the modern map of the area, courtesy of Google Maps, and here is our destination of Marble Arch Station. And we've already begun our walk along Upper Brook Street towards Park Lane, and then we'll reach our destination. I thought you might like to see this on the John Rock map from the 1750s. The junction which became Marble Arch, which was the infamous Tyburn Gallows in those days. And the spread of London hasn't quite reached the corner of Oxford Street and Park Lane. It's still the last of the remaining fields at this point.
So way over yon side of the park is Speaker's Corner. which I won't be going to today because it's too far away across 2 lanes of traffic when Marble Arch Station is at the top of the current lane. But this is Park Lane, glistening in the sunshine. That's south towards Hyde Park Corner. Lots of tourists on big buses. And that way the traffic field north way up to Oxford Street and Marble Arch. So here's what you would have won, Oxford Street.
We've just arrived at Marble Arch Station, but I've got a bus to catch towards Battersea, so I'll see you on the next walk.